Hi there, Evan here with Crypto and Markets for Monday, June 17th, 2019. Today, I'm going to make my prediction on where the US federal funds rate will be by year end and where the Bank of Canada overnight rate will be by year end. First, for US Fed funds, the Federal Reserve has their policy meeting for June tomorrow and Wednesday, June 19th at 2 p.m. Eastern will be their interest rate announcement with subsequent statement thereafterwards. Now, personally, I don't think the U.S. is going to cut federal funds at this meeting. However, they will give the framework for rate cuts down the road during the next market depth. Now, as we all know, the markets and the Trump administration themselves really are in control of the U.S. Federal Reserve. We saw this towards the later part of last year as the Fed was still raising rates. The Trump administration was railing against those rate hikes, saying they'll kill the recovery. Now with the markets, most specifically the bond market, yields started going down late Q3 into early Q4 last year because the economy was showing signs it was starting to slow down, which then brought yields lower, which then, along with pressure from the White House, forced the Federal Reserve to end their quantitative tightening program in January, which is, I'm sure, a lot sooner than they would have wanted. And as the economy has shown further signs of slowing since then, bond yields have come lower ever since. And the looks of it now, with what we'll see at the meeting on Wednesday, the framework is going to be laid for rate cuts. And like I said, it's going to be 50 basis points by year end, either one 50 basis point cut or two 25 basis point cuts. So I'm with the market on that. Now on to the Bank of Canada. Look, in their own statements, the Bank of Canada has said for at least the past 12 months that they're worried about two things. One, export growth. Two, housing. Now, for export growth, they say it's about the trade war, when, as I've said for many months, it's not about the trade war. It's slowing global growth. And no, a devalued currency isn't going to help you there. Okay? So enough of that. And housing, look, they have constantly mentioned that they're worried about elevated household debt levels, but as we all know, it was the rate cuts in 2015, which will go down as the worst Bank of Canada policy move ever, that encouraged this, that encouraged the blow-off top in credit. So in a lot of ways, it was their own making. Now, of course, it was money laundering in their top two real estate markets also that caused a lot of this as well, but one big factor towards it nonetheless was the rate cuts themselves, as I mentioned many times. Then, of course, with housing, there is knock-on effects as more and more people can no longer use their homes as ATMs, and the wealth effect is taken out that can't be spent in the real economy. It has had a knock-on effect on the Canadian consumer, really for the past 18 months. And then from the beginning of last year, consumer credit delinquencies have been on the rise. Car sales have been negative year over year the last 15 months. Of course, housing, cars, furniture, appliances, home renovation, they're all within the same cycle. We're starting to see knock-on effects in the construction market as well too. The list goes on. That being said, unlike the Federal Reserve in the US, they're only going to cut rates by 25 basis points, not 50 basis points. So there's only going to be one 25 basis point cut. What I think is going to happen is the month after the US Federal Reserve decides to cut rates, they'll go ahead and follow. But for the second 25 basis points, the Bank of Canada won't follow. The reason why here, I think it goes twofold. One, deep down inside, by the looks of it, they are worried about the currency and the challenges that remain within it, really, for years to come, it seems like now. But secondly, another point no one has brought up, it relates to the 2015 rate cuts. Because we all know what happened. 2015, they cut rates, big ramp in credit. They then have to go ahead and over-tighten, which is, yes, what they did. The rate hike in October was one too far. I've been saying it for months. But again, the rate cuts caused an overcompensation. To go ahead and pull all that liquidity out of the system, they pumped in incorrectly in the first place. So what am I saying? They're going to be scared to cut rates too fast, too soon. On worries, they'll repeat that same mistake. That's all there is to it. So in closing, US Federal Reserve, 50 basis point cut by year end, first rate cut during next market downturn. When the first US Federal Reserve cut comes, the Bank of Canada will cut at the meeting after 25 basis points. But when the Federal Reserve cuts the second 25 basis points, the Bank of Canada will not follow. Okay, that's my prediction. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below with your opinion, and smash that like button, subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Have a good day.